Hey there, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to the local experts to learn ways that we can become better anglers and stewards of this fishery, whether you're out fishing in the ocean, the lower bay, or its tributaries. We also ask that every angler do their part in sustainable fishing practices, keeping this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come. Spring is here, and the water in the bite is warming up. So let us take a minute and hear who's bringing us this week's show, and then we're going to jump into the report and find out what's going on. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. Sam Rust Seafood, your locally trusted source for premium wholesale seafood. Servicing customers from Hampton Roads down through the Outer Banks, Richmond, and surrounding areas, including Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and Lynchburg, for over 80 years. Committed to the highest standards in the industry, Sam Rust distributes the best of the ocean directly to your restaurant, hotel, or grocery store on time and at a great price. Visit samrust.com to discover how quality, tradition, and sustainability come together. So don't cuss, call Sam Rust. Check it out. AFTCO has a gift for our listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For cool mornings, I love my Reaper sweatshirt. And on those hot days, my Samurai sun shirt. You just can't beat the quality and performance. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, y'all. Welcome to this week's show. If you recall, a few weeks back, we chatted with Ava Bourne, who is the daughter of Josh Bourne with Wingman Guide Service, and she shared her passion about the legal studies program she's in at First Colonial and where this idea came from to create this tight lines for tiny fighters fishing tournament. It just happened. It went down, and it was a screaming success. And so I thought it'd be cool to bring Ava and her dad, Josh, back on the show just to catch up with them and get an inside look at what happened at the tournament, how many fish were weighed, how many teams did we have, all the good. So Ava, Josh, welcome to the show. How are y'all doing this afternoon?
Good. Thank you for having me back.
Good, Luke. Yeah, we're good. We took a little bit of a deep breath after the tournament. It was a great success, and Ava's down in South Carolina enjoying spring break, so let's not forget about that.
Man, to be a teenager on spring break again. As adults, we don't really get spring break, but maybe one day we'll get a spring break just like they do. But take me into Saturday. So obviously, we talked about it on the show. We wanted to get people excited. Did you guys have a good turnout? What was the number of teams?
So we had 16 teams registered come Friday night at the captain's meeting, and we had 2 people registered that night. So we ended up with about 18 teams, a good mix actually of boats, kayaks, and people fishing on land. So I was glad I included all of those options.
That's awesome to hear. That makes me really, really happy. So for those that competed from, kayaks or from shore, as we learned on last week's episode, apparently you can even catch a bluefin tuna from a kayak, chatting with Stefan Turco. But I'm curious, the folks from the kayaks and the folks from shore, did they get in the mix of the leaderboard, or did the boats take the leaderboard?
So we had, I want to say we had 5 or 6 people fishing from kayaks. The people who took one of the Calcuttas and came in second place were fishing out of kayaks.
That's
So
cool.
they had a very windy, cold day, but ended up being pretty successful. And then they were also one of our last minute registrations too. They kind of decided last minute they were going to fish because they saw the kayak option, and they ended up doing really, really well. So that was exciting. And then on shore, we had one guy, Xander, who I've gone to school with since elementary school. He weighed in 2 pretty nice fish that he caught just out in the backyard. Just wanted to support and got lucky and caught a couple of nice ones.
That's cool. And Josh, did you get the chance to chat with any of the anglers? What were they primarily using for bait? Did they talk at all about, where their catches were happening, what tide, anything like that?
I think it was a little different than what they expected because of the weather, but it seemed to me that the best bite was coming off of either some sort of cut bait, mullet or shrimp, something like that, something with good scent on it. But we had three significant hauls of fish from the Elizabeth River, Rudy Inlet, and Lynnhaven. So it just talks to that these fish are, abundant in a lot of those places. The second place team was in a John boat, and the third place team was a charter captain. So very, very open playing field for anybody at that point,
That's good to hear, because a lot of times, different fishing tournaments, whether it's the tuna tournament or a cobia tournament, sometimes you tend to see the same couple of, names up on the leaderboard. So that's cool to hear that there was a real mix, even playing field, because this is one of the first tournaments that I'm aware of that's really kind of been open to, hey, anybody can fish it, kayak, land, or otherwise. So, and it's also cool to hear that fish came in from the Elizabeth and Rudy, as well as Lynnhaven. I'm curious, were you guys there at the scales for all the weigh-ins? Did you see everybody come in?
Yeah, so I got there around 11:30 to get everything set up, and people started trickling in at like noon, and I was like, oh, like the weather's bad, people are just gonna come in as soon as they can. We were standing there, scales closed at 2. We were standing there at 1:55, and there's like 8 teams like rushing in with fish. It went from like 0 to 100 very, very quickly. But it was super exciting. It reminded me of like any other tournament that you kind of wait around, you wait for the results, and you could kind of see people like talking to each other. And we did post the like weights on the board as we were going, but it was definitely, there was like that excitement around all of it. And there were people that didn't even fish in the tournament that came and just watched like the weigh-ins and stuff to come and support and see what was going on. But yeah, it was really exciting to be around the whole time for the couple of hours that the scales were open.
That's awesome. And where'd you guys host the whole event at again? It was Long Bay Point, and
Yeah, long.
then very cool. And remind us again. So the foundation that the funds were raised for was who again, and how much did you guys end up raising for them?
So AES Cancer Foundation is the foundation that we worked with alongside with Trip Seed. We raised over $4,000 through in cash. So that was from sponsorships, registration, and just extra donations from mostly local businesses and companies. And yeah, we were able to present them with a check for $4,000 total. And then we had a lot of great donations from local businesses for our prizes, which is why our numbers were able to be so high for cash.
That's huge. That's really cool. Josh, what was it for you like as a dad? Like we were just talking offline. So real quick, tell our listeners like where you grew up, what your family's business was up in Maryland. And then I got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, I grew up oldest of 9 children on the eastern shore of Maryland, up on the Tangier Sound. Father was a waterman. Grew up pulling a hand scrape on the dead rise. Just learned the grit, the importance of the water, the importance of keeping our bay clean. Joined the Marine Corps at 9/11, had a career in the Marine Corps, and knew that I wanted to get back into the industry. So I said, you know what? I have the personality and the skills to be a charter captain. So I did that. I'm in my 10th year now. It's been a great experience. It's even more rewarding to see my daughters coming along and wanting to be involved in that. And Ava and her awesome, tough personality is is easy to follow. And it's just a great opportunity for her, the next generation, a whole generation of kids who have no idea what it means to work on the water. And, so she can continue we don't have a legacy, continue what we have as a family if she wants to. And I think she started that, mating 3 years ago. And honestly, I prefer that Ava doesn't mate with me. It's better for our relationship. But she's also been working with other captains, because you have to earn everything in this game if you want to be respected. Yeah. And I don't want anybody to think that she has a heads up or a leg up, because she doesn't. So, kudos to the other charter captains who have hired her, and I think they respect her skills, and there needs to be more ladies and women in the industry. They're very capable. So, it's a good thing for everybody involved. And I was a little hesitant on the idea of a tournament for the senior project. She's in her senior year. She's the captain of the team. She's going to play college soccer on a scholarship. I said, when are you going to do this?
Yeah.
But I supported it. And without the support of our, my daughter, Kate, my stepdaughter, Cameron, and Sarah, we wouldn't have pulled it off, because it took a family to get through this. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is, especially when it's your child's senior project and you have a respectable name in the industry. You want it to go well, but the support from everybody involved was just amazing. So.
Recently celebrating 100 years of history, Tohatsu is Japan's oldest outboard manufacturer, producing high-quality durable outboard motors since 1956. Tohatsu America Corporation is the U.S. and Canadian distributor of Tohatsu outboards, offering a full line of four-stroke motors ranging from 2.5 horsepower to 250 horsepower, and the recently introduced Alaris 6-kilowatt electric outboard. Tohatsu America is a recipient of the NMMA's Customer Satisfaction Index, or CSI, award for the 7th consecutive year. Tohatsu is uncompromising in its pursuit of outboard motors that are both durable and as light as possible. See it, hear it, feel the wind. Yeah, I know Brady and Connie over there at Long Bay were partnered with you guys, and you had Jenny with Shutter Speed. Ava was talking about her on Preston Huckle's boat. Going around and taking pictures for everybody. It really does take a team of experts to put it together, and you guys did it great. And my question, was going to be to you, what was it like, as a dad who, your legacy was coming up on the water. You had a father teaching you the ways of the water, hard work, dedication. Then obviously you were in the Marines, which takes, kind of the methodology and approach to executing things to a whole nother level. I think we talked about that the first time we recorded, about the way that you look at fishing, so much more intense than the average civilian, so to speak. And now you're watching your daughter, put on, a fishing tournament in your backyard with your community. What did it feel like as a dad to sit back and just watch her work?
No, super proud, very, very detailed, but also at the same time, 17, 18-year-old kid, you don't have the big picture. So all I tried to do was apply big picture to her, and she crushed it.
That's awesome.
Thing that I probably would stick to is, look, this is your tournament. This is your project. This is your grade. I will introduce you to people, and I will, start the conversation. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to seal the deal for you. This is on you. So that's where I wanted to make sure that it became her, her project, her name, and win or lose, it's going to be what it is. So I think she did an amazing job. I was super proud. We had some family members there and close friends who were, proud, who understand that we fish. They don't really know what it means, but they saw the whole, the 360 of it. And I think they were, obviously super proud of Ava, and she did a great job. And I'm pretty sure she got an A on the project. If not, and, to raise $4,000 for organization is significant. And people, they take money out of their pocket and they put it on your shoulders, and you have to respect that and do the right thing. So I think it was a great thing. I think there's room for a future in this tournament, and a lot of people have reached out to us saying, hey, we need this. This is great. How she pulls that off being at college, I'm not sure, but she'll figure it out.
I'll make it work.
Also, we had, Ava, I think there was maybe only less than $400 of expenses, and that was only for purchasing prizes. So 100% of net proceeds back to AES and the trip. And, he's an amazing man. And for those of you who don't know, I actually married him I did not marry him. I married him and his wife.
I know we talk a lot about mating and then marrying people. I mean, it's a very confusing
Yeah, we got to be
time,
careful not
Josh.
to cross
Question
streams.
I get asked.
Yeah. Just to clear the air, I'm completely 100% with Sarah.
Got it.
So, Tripp, lost his wife to cancer and dealt with that. And through the fishing community on a charter on my boat, a woman, Andrea, his now wife that I met, I introduced him. And his question to me was, he took us to shore break and we sat down and said, Josh, I want to ask you something. I said, are you going to ask me to be in the wedding? And I was right. He did. And he goes, oh, one more thing. And I was like, best man? He goes, no, I want you to marry us. So I had to go get licensed through Virginia and Virginia Beach and all that. And, and then I got to be the officiant for their ceremony, which was pretty, a powerful thing. And I don't know that I'll ever do it again, but it was an honor to be there for them. And, obviously it was a close connection for all of us. So kudos to him and what he's done with his family and his late wife's families with this organization, trying to help people. And, at the end of the day, people need help, and, good people help people. So let's just continue that.
Yeah, man. And, I'm probably one of the few people that understand what it means to go apply for the right to celebrate marriage at the courthouse. I had that same conversation once with a good buddy, and it's, I don't know about you, man, but my heart exploded when I got asked that, because it's so nerve-wracking. And then when the time comes and they're walking down the aisle and you're like, I can't screw this up. These people are getting married. I don't know about you, but I was a nervous wreck. But then, of course, it always goes great. But it's a really special honor. And then, of course, you get to go sign the marriage license and file it, and make them legally bound to each other and all that good stuff. But that's awesome that you share that special bond with Tripp and Andrea, and we're glad to know that you're still married to Sarah and not Tripp. But no, jokes aside, it's incredible that you raised all this money. Ava, if you could go, think about next year. I mean, you still have spring break in college, right? So we could maybe expect to have this tournament next year. What's the over under that we're going to have this thing next year?
My goal is to 100% have it next year. I think it's very, very doable. I was very proud of the foundation that we set going into this. I mean, to have as many teams registered as we did in a first year, and for it to be as successful as it was, I'm very confident that even if I'm not physically there, I can, do the planning from school and put it in the hands of some trustworthy people to continue on for the next couple of years until I'm home again. But I think, I mean, $4,000 in the first year, and as much as support and attention even that the event got, I think looking into the next couple of years, it is a very attainable goal to continue it on.
It's time we talked about catching some serious savings. Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to cut your energy bills and having a roof that's built to last. Convert Solar and Roofing specializes in top-notch solar installations and durable roofing solutions that stand up to the toughest elements. Their solar panels are designed to maximize efficiency, and their roofs are built with premium materials to ensure long-lasting protection. Whether you're out on the water or at home, their expert team ensures you're covered. As fellow anglers in the Lower Chesapeake Bay, the team at Convert Solar and Roofing cares about both sustainable living and sustainable fishing. So reel in those savings today and visit www.convert-solar.com or call 757-44-SOLAR. Make your energy and roof as reliable as your favorite fishing lure. Call Convert Solar and Roofing today. That's awesome. Well, we're excited about it. You've got our support here at the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, because, what you're talking about doing in terms of bringing the community together to help those in need with something that's an honorable cause. And Josh, what you said about, growing up on the water and kind of taking on that responsibility for sustainability and care for our waterways, those are the kind of folks that we want leading the community, because that's what's going to make it, part of our mission statement, making this place, this fishery, great for generations to come. It takes folks like you, Ava, and you, Josh, standing strong in those beliefs and preaching that to those that'll listen. So, Josh, I'm curious for you, when are you guys going to be up and operational with Wingman Guide Service? When can we expect to start booking trips, and what's next on y'all's fishing calendar?
Yeah, so we're getting ready to go hot and heavy here. My first trip is on the 25th. Going to go out there after the Black Drum. So pretty much I've actually already got 82 trips booked. So I don't have a ton of room in my schedule, but we're going to go straight for the Black Drum and then the Red Drum and then obviously the cobia are, our bread and butter. So we're ready to go here in about a week and a half and excited for a new year. And the new cobia regulations don't mean anything. We'll just do what we got to do.
Well, I don't know about you, but our goal here on the show is, to kind of popularize release over 50. I know the regulations changed, but we believe that, there's great meat to be harvested in those 45 inchers. And, unless you're just hard up thinking that it's a 55, 60 pounder, there's really not a great reason to harvest those jumbos. So that's kind of our thing on the show.
I have two ideas on this. One is we went from only one fish over 50 and now there's no restriction. Look, most people don't catch multiple fish over 50 inches, let's be honest.
Correct.
But the tournaments, if they maintain a 2-fish tournament, that's where it's going to be hurtful on the population of fish.
Yep.
All right. So, and at the same time, if it's okay to kill 250 plus inch cobia, let me gaff one when I need to. So there's a disparity there.
I think you just caused every listener who's ever gaffed a cobia and then had to pick up a net just like stood up out of their chairs and started clapping when you said that.
Yeah, so let's just be fair brokers of the situation if we're talking about the sustainability of the fishery and all that. So as long as we're fair to that, I'm okay with it. And let's just be honest brokers on it. And the community was so supportive, and I do think Ava has a few names she would like to list off just so that they can get their due recognition before we close up. And thank you, Luke, for your attention and what you guys do, and overall huge success. And I don't deserve to talk this much, and she did everything that she needed to do.
Well, you spawned a good one, and she showed up and made you proud. That's for darn sure. And if folks are listening and want to get on, Wingman Guide Service, what's the best way for them to contact you to book a trip?
And they can look me up on Instagram and Facebook. I do not have a website. I've been blessed to not need one. Reach me at 910-467-6410. I know it's a North Carolina number, but I've had it for 20 years and I'm not letting go of it. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. And one last thing I'll say about just a teaser. This is not for sure, but I will say any tournament that I've got anything to do with this summer, we all kind of got used to fishing the way we did with only keeping the one over 50. I can't find a really good reason to change that. So again, more to come on that, but I'm just thinking, why change a thing if we already know how to do it and it helps protect the fish? Ava, who would you like to thank for their support in Tight Lines for Tidy Finders?
So we had a mass of support, just local businesses. Obviously Long Bay Point for allowing us to, pretty much take over the tackle shop in the marina for 2 days, Friday night into Saturday and, into the afternoon. And then Oceans East was a big donor. They're a large reason of why we didn't have to spend much money on prizes. They donated and gave us great prices on a lot of our prizes. We had a really nice Yeti cooler, a really nice reel for a rod from Real Blessed Rods.
Awesome. Richard Wasden. Yep.
And then Pleasure House Oysters donated a very generous amount of gift certificates for oysters that we were able to give towards into our prizes. And then also and Dad, correct me if I'm wrong, the Virginia Beach chapter of, is it the Virginia Beach chapter?
The Back Bay chapter of Delta Waterfowl. They had the largest single cash donation.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which was a great leg up towards a lot of the money that we raised. That's
huge. And Pleasure House Oyster Company, that's Captain Chris Ludsford, who is like you, Josh, born and raised on the water, protects it, fights for it. Upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture. Built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine-grade aluminum with a protective anti-corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast-drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Dock. Check out the full collection at killerdock.com today. Man, it just makes my heart, kind of feel full that, we talked about this several weeks ago. You guys worked your butts off. You got the community together and it was successful. I'm curious, what was the winning stringer? Do you guys remember the weights? How many fish and what was the total weight for the winning stringer?
Yeah, it was 16.925 pounds. So 16 pounds, like almost 17 pounds for three fish.
That's
They were
awesome.
they were all three very nice fish.
And who was that winning team?
So they were under the name Home Pro, a local construction company. Um, Last name Bales.
Okay.
And they kind of came out of nowhere and registered that night. They were that one of the teams that registered that night. They fished in the Elizabeth, caught some really beautiful fish. Not only did they win the overall tournament, they won heaviest stringer Calcutta, and
Hmm.
then also the heaviest single fish,
Wow.
which was awesome. So they took home a good chunk of cash money and then some really, really great prizes on top of that.
That's awesome. Well, I guess the Elizabeth River showed up. I mean, I know that is definitely a spot. Travis Kemp with Full Proof, he fishes over there a lot. So it's cool to hear that, you guys had it right there in the Lynnhaven, but some folks came from the Elizabeth and took home the trophy. Uh, Ava or Josh, any final thoughts before we wrap this segment up?
Thank you to you and all the people who showed up and amazing community. I do believe if the weather was a little different, we probably would have had another 5 or 6 entries. And if Ava decides to continue this, I think it'll be a big thing. And it's a great time of year to have a tournament where everyone's just waiting to fish. So.
Yep, absolutely. It's right there on the cusp of like we've all just dealt with the winter doldrums. Like, give me a reason to get outside, and then all of a sudden, this really cool tournament for the right reasons come along, and boom, everybody's out there. Guys, thanks so much. Ava, congrats on a successful event. Josh, Wingman Guide Services, thanks for being on. Thanks for having Ava and making her a reality, so all this stuff can happen. We look forward to catching up with you guys real soon.
Thank you again.
All right,
Absolutely.
Luke. Thanks, man. And good luck with everything.
Yes, sir. You too. Guys, that's going to wrap up a report catching up with Ava and Josh about all things tight lines for tiny fighters. Y'all stick around for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with you real soon. Tired of battling salt corrosion on your boat, trailer, and reels? Meet Salt's Gone, your ultimate solution. This powerful, instantly acting chelating agent tackles salt and brine with ease, featuring corrosion inhibitors to protect against future damage and surfactants for a thorough clean. Salt's Gone is pH neutral, making it safe for all boat materials metal, glass, paint, vinyl wraps, and more. Highly concentrated, just 1 gallon creates 100 gallons of ready to use solution. Apply it with or without running water. It's perfect for any situation. Use code GreatDays10 to save 10% at saltsgone.com. Or if you need faster delivery, use Amazon or your favorite retailer. All right, y'all. That was really cool to catch up with Ava and Josh. I'm excited for this next episode because this guy, I mean, when you talk about the spirit of an adventurer, I mean, this guy embodies it. We've had him on the show several times. He's always fun to chat with. Welcome back to the show, Captain Bill Pappas aboard Playing Hooky. How you doing this afternoon, brother?
Hey, welcome aboard Playing Hooky Charters.
Dude, it's good to see you, man. You got some new ink on your shoulder. What's that all about?
Man, I did. My son and I have been planning it for a while. I waited, man, longest child of my mom's to finally get the tat, but I had it coming. I had a lot of heritage, family, just a lot of stuff going to this thing, and my kids are in it. There's a hunter gatherer in there, some fishing stuff in there, some fish nets, and then I asked the guy. This is hilarious too, because I asked the guy to give me like a little pH. I didn't say little, but I just said a little PHC in there somewhere. You can put a couple of those in there somewhere, a small one. That's what I had figured. But by the time he had the idea and did this, and we came back for the second session, it was an 8-hour sesh. He
Woo.
uh he designed. He just said he wanted to put it right there, and I looked at it. I was like, "Go for it, man. Whatever." And I have a giant PHC on my bicep now, so I like my company, I like my business, and it was definitely a marker of my life. When you say to yourself, you're like, hey, I want to make a mark in life. Well,
Yeah,
playing hookey's gonna be my mark
that's awesome, man.
for
And you
now.
definitely
For
have.
now.
Hey, for now, forever, the number of people that have been touched by your story or been able to get on board and fish with you, I mean, these are lifelong memories. You catch a fish for the first time, or you catch that citation, or you see something wild that you can never see unless you go. That's what it's all about. But you talked about your son and this trip that you've been, working hard for to be ready to go do finally. Where'd you guys go? What'd you do? And did I see a bright red sports car? What was that all about?
Dang, the Ferrari was already rented out, or we would have had the red Ferrari, man. I'm a huge Magnum PI fan. I grew up watching it a lot in Hawaii. My mom, she always had it on TV, and then we only had back when I grew up in the '80s. You had like one big TV, everybody sat around, so
Yeah.
they watched in the evening, and it was she liked that show, and honestly, it's on cable, like on channel 116 at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. every day. So once my kids went to college. And I started watching it and getting back into it a little bit, and it was cool just to see that guy and how cool he is in a nice car and a nice Aloha shirt. So I figured I'd be funny and get the shirt that he had, and I rented a cherry red Corvette. Now it's kind of like a midlife crisis special, they call it, where you're like, I'm not in a midlife crisis, but I can get that I can put the checklist off already on it. I already
Yeah.
got the nice car. I can never drive that. I mean, I drive. You'll love this. I drive a $5,000 F-150 from 2007. You know what I'm
Heck yeah.
saying? And it's
Yep.
got 297,000 miles on it.
That's
So
awesome,
when it
man.
comes down to it, I'll never own a car like that. Maybe don't say never though. If I hit the lottery or something, I still wouldn't buy a vet. But it was fun. It was fun. We got her up to about a buck 15.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. It looked so fun. I was geeking out when I saw it. I was like, he did go full Magnum PI. That's so awesome. And you had your boy LB there with you. Got to, take him back to, where you grew up and show him around. Give me like one or two highlights from your trip down there in Hawaii. What was that like, man?
All right. Well, for me to come back and see the palm trees and smell the smells and hear the birds chirp, it was like kind of like it was a great feeling because it was where I grew up and where I was comfortable. The vibes weren't as much. The 5G wasn't melting my brain, making me upset about everything. And anyway, it was just nice vibes there, man. I went back, took my son to where I went to high school and elementary school, and we went to the swap meet and got some souvenirs for all our friends first, and I was on Oahu. That's where I grew up in Mililani. We went over to Mililani and hung out. We stayed on the North Shore. We were right by Sharks Cove. I took my son snorkeling where my dad had taken me snorkeling. So it was kind of three tables. We went to three tables. So it was kind of like a torch was being passed secretly
Yeah,
that, like, hey, look, whether you know it or not, you now are required to bring your son here one day, somehow, some way, and you're going to snorkel with him.
that's
You know what I
cool,
mean? I'm
man.
just passing another heritage down. Besides going in the woods, besides catching fish, whatever, you got to do this now. And he loves Hawaii too. So we ate. The food was the best part, though. We had Foodland a block away, and we got fresh poke. It's not like that. It's not that what is it? Carbon monoxide frozen where it's red and looks like and it's not real
Yeah,
tuna. It
yeah.
just tastes weird. Well, this stuff was fresh. You could tell there was like 20 different sections of kinds of poke. You could get spicy, this and that. And we ate, man. We had it every other meal, man. It was so awesome.
That is awesome,
I
dude.
lo-
And
I
I've
love
heard
it.
it's really good down there. The food, I mean, the fresh tuna, the poke. If you had to go back and just eat one meal again, what meal would it be?
God, I'm already thinking about it. It's the plate lunch already is on my mind. Do they have one here? It's called L&L Barbecue, and it's out in Chesapeake. It's a good shout out for them. But there is one, so you can get close, and they try. I mean, I know they mean well. But at the end of the day, there's no way to describe the portion size of these plates and these lunches you get in Hawaii. They're like these big, giant, swollen plates of fried fish,
Oh,
fried beef, Kobe ribs, chicken every time, macaroni salad every time,
oh
scoop of
my
rice every
gosh.
time. And then, yeah, it's incredible, man.
I gotta remember to never record with you before dinner ever
I'm
again,
starving
man.
too,
You're
man.
killing me, dude. Now I
I'm
want like
hungry as a
tahi
hostage.
macos or something else, or
Man.
your coconut crusted sea bass.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for the cookbook to come out. Spring
Yeah, 2020.
2023.
Still 2020 coming out.
2020, that's right,
It's a
2020.
little late, just a little late there, boys. It's coming
Well,
now, I swear.
I think I speak on behalf of all the listeners. We're glad that you had an awesome time. You got to recharge your batteries, have some
Yeah,
great,
that was
time with
it.
your son. A
A
little bit
cool
of,
question. A cool question everybody asked me is, did I fish? And this is a fishing show, so I'll let y'all know. I did not fish
ooh,
there. if I work and I fish all the time, to take a break from work is to not fish. And my
True.
son I was going to book a charter. My son gets seasick. So I didn't feel like, giving him, if I take half a day of his, he's done for the day. So it would just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I could have hit the beaches or done something like that. But when I chased the fish and pretty much did what I did as a kid, where you put 2 fins on and you gun it after some fish over some reefs, I chased fish. I felt good about it. And that was good enough, man. I know when I get back, all I can do is fish, right?
Looking to protect your dock with materials built to last? Shoreline Plastics has you covered. As leaders in composite marine dock pilings and building materials, they engineer solutions that stand the test of time. Their EcoPile is the ultimate composite piling designed for longevity and eco-friendliness, ensuring your dock remains strong for years. And if you need a quick fix for worn pilings, try Snap Jacket, a durable solution that restores and extends their life. Visit shorelineplastics.com to discover how you can elevate your next marine project. Shoreline Plastics, where durability meets innovation. Well, speaking of getting back in fishing, so you guys you guys did something a little wild. I mean, we talked about some folks doing it via trailer. You took an alternative route to go down and chase these bluefin tuna. Just kind of walk us through that trip. Like, what kind of a trip was it? Was it a walk on?
It sure was. Well, Russ Moreau and I, man, we had busted our butts in the boatyard getting that boat ready, and all we could see was reports of Oregon Inlet of tunas and more yellowfin tunas, and it was just the word tuna, 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 sushi, sushi, and that's I've gotten Russ to understand, and he just loves it too. That yellowfin tuna is like one of the best. That's my favorite, and his favorite too. So, seeing all those tunas, all you want to do when you get that boat out of the yard, and we were talking, I was like, yo, when we get out of here, we're sprinting, we're going for tuna, and between you and I, if the weather conditions had been better everywhere, I would have went try to hunt down the yellowfins, and it might not have been a walk on. I mean, we might have just sent him with the homies.
Yeah.
So at least found them first, and then came back with a boatload of tuna and passed them. Do what we had to do. But anyway, so that trip, here's what happened. I knew it was a pump with that bluefin, that stuff going on. And my mate and everybody else was going down there, and even people I like a lot go down there, and they're out there hooked up to these fish on the pier, and they're having a great time. They're true Americans, man. They're like heroes. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they're living the dream, man. It's like, you don't get these opportunities very often, and it's just a shame where a couple people can come down and ruin a couple $100,000 worth of economy for one area and one local thing, and it's been written about. Yeah, have you seen it all the way to New York? It's written about here, there, and everywhere, and it's just sad to see that we can't enjoy a resource when it's available to the people that don't have a lot of money and just can walk on the end of a pier.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I didn't want to talk about that, but I did anyway. I just knew that I had to get down there, man. I mean, if you cut off one leg, man, you got to hop around. So I was the hopper. I just was like, look, it's gonna be a tough shot to get down there, and I have to put him over. Pretty much, I put him over my Kitty Hawk. Did I start at Kitty Hawk? I probably did. I
Trolling.
think I started
Yeah.
trolling Kitty Hawk, and I heard the bite was 20 to 30 feet, and it was not the way the wind was blowing. It was 20 to 30 feet was not going to be doable. So we stayed out in the 40 to 50, and eventually we got hooked up. We had a huge run. All right. Now this thing ran and just started spooling our of course, out of all the 80s we have out, we decided we had a nice brand new 50 pen.
Oh no,
And
that's
it
the
hit
one that
the
got hit.
50.
Oh,
Oh yeah, hit the 50. Wow.
you ain't slowing
And,
that thing down.
and man, well,
Basing it
I
down.
hit the brakes.
Okay.
I ended up, and now we got some very, very decent swells, to be modest.
Yeah, I saw.
And man, that's only when you could film. Yeah, the times you can't film, it's even worse. Anyway, but yeah, that was pretty bad. So, but I had to stay back into it because I couldn't circle the boat back into it at all. So I had to stay back into it slightly, and waves are cracking, right? So I do this to stop the fish. And eventually, at one point in time, I had to find a little flat section to really gun it back to stop that run, and because we were getting spooled. We had
Oh.
everything in. We had stuff in the boat. There was a couple. It was like tangled because of the amount of wind that got pulled in, and we were in. We dug in. Every angler got a chance. Started fighting on this fish, right? And I'm looking at the GPS up top, and I'm like, all right. If we hook the fish here and we're backing them up, all right, cool. We're backing up. That's fine. Well, this fish was dragging us back into the waves. So you got all this line out, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, we're in. Here we go. And we're gaining. Here we go. And boosh, wave hits.
Now that thing's got a super big, it's not a swim platform. It's called a bracket. That's right.
Yeah.
It's what you could call it, a swim platform. It's got a big bracket on the back with like 3 or 4 feet, and then the motor's back there to take a lick too if they have to. It'll
Yeah.
boost the motors, but it cuts it back a lot. So we're not hitting and slapping like you wouldn't think. But when we
Oh, I
eventually
see.
do, when it's big enough, it does. And so it was banging and getting, and it was cold that day. It was the 40-degree day. It was
Oof.
blowing real hard. So Russ was getting soaked, man. He was getting soaked. He was getting soaked. And eventually we're changing guys, we're changing guys, we're changing guys. And we only had 4 people booked that day. So we were excited. Russ and I not only were ready to get a fish, there was 2 slots missing, and we were happy with it. We didn't make another post. We were like, keep them 2 slots open, so we get 2 6 of the fish.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
get them spots. We'll split this big, we'll split a 250, 880-pound fish,
Yeah.
73 or less.
Yep.
And we're stoked. We're ready for some sushi. So they dug in for the fight. They're digging. It's about an hour and 15 minutes into an hour 45-minute fight. Hour 15, pow! The rod breaks
No.
at the rod holder almost right there, but the rubber's still connected. And Russ grabs it. He's holding. Now he's taking a knee, right? And we're still backing into
Oh my
very,
gosh.
very,
Big
very,
waves.
very big ripples, we'll call it. And and anyway, and boosh, a wave hits, and this is throughout, and it just completely covers my man. And by a couple times we had a few inches in the boat, like we're marlin fishing, and
Yeah.
it just pumped it right out, but it was fine. And so anyway, as we're getting through it, they're taking turns. They almost had 3 turns each for the 4 guys, and they were having a blast. One every so often, a strong guy would get in there, really gain some bunch of line. And then I was like, you know what, guys? And you don't like to do this too much, but I was like, you know what? Switch that. So when they were really stalemated for a minute, I was like, put it in first. They were like, click, and then boom, game on. Got him
Yeah.
coming to the boat, coming to the boat, coming to the boat, coming to the boat through a wave, and I see him. I'm like, no, before I didn't see him yet. I didn't see the fish yet at all. I didn't even know if it was a fish. That was the funniest part. I thought I was gonna see him. So here's the worst part. I blew the suspense. So we're backing down on this thing, and I look on my screen, and I'm like, I wonder how far he's pulled us. And I'm exactly where we started and hooked up.
What?
Now I'm thinking, we're hung. We're stuck on the bottom. We got an it's a DTX minnow.
Yeah.
Look, it was waves and caps, and I knew the ballyhoo wouldn't present well. So I made sure to have a DTX in there digging away.
Yeah.
And man, I knew it. I was like, we probably got some, like a structure or a wreck we didn't see or unmarked.
Right.
And we hung this MRFer. So but I won't tell the crew that. They're digging away. I'm like, good job. And all right, come on. And I'm like, I'm cheering away. And I'm just like, and I'm up there. My shoulders throwed out on my other one's just beat from steering backwards. And I'm like, we are stuck on the dang bottom. You ain't gonna believe this. And I said, hey, are we getting head shakes down there? And Russ is like, yeah. I mean, we're getting head shakes. I was like, you sure? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. I back up a little more, and I'm like, are you kidding me, man? There's no way we're all the way where we started now. Like a half mile, maybe a mile from where you bit.
Would your insurance cover an air ambulance and a medical emergency? The fact is, insurance doesn't cover the full cost of medical flights, leaving you and your loved ones at financial risk. But with an Air Medcare network membership, you can focus on recovery, not on finances, should the unexpected happen. They take care of everything with no costs for flights, only when flown by one of their providers. Membership covers your full household and starts at $99 a year. Visit gdo.deals/airmedcare to enroll.
Anyway, sure enough, man, I do a couple more backups, and there it is, woof, to the surface, made a surface run, and there it was. Now, this thing, mind you, from that far away was an inch big, but I was like, there he is. That's a keeper. That's definitely under, for sure. From that far, I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, he's circling, and then he went down again. Every time they would switch, sometimes without having a guy ready. The key is, and I'll give everybody a little tip, guys. Here's what I tell my guests in the morning. Listen, the key is to not pass that rod when you're tired. It's to say, hey, I'm starting to get tired.
Yeah.
Somebody get ready now. You don't go, all right, I'm tired, who wants it? And just stop and stare at me. That ain't
Right.
how we fish here. We keep
Right.
the hook hooked and we keep the fish tight.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just how
Yep.
it goes. It's just what we do.
Keep that
So
pressure on.
that had happened a few times. And every time it would be like dive back down. We had surface runs. So Eventually, this fish finally, after it surfaces again, I'm like, oh yeah, right there. I was like, oh sweet. And then as it gets closer, I'm like, that's a big one. That's looking nice, but it's not too big. I'm like, that's still good. And it circles again. It gets to the top. It gets closer, and I'm like, and it does this roll where I'm like, man, that is a Volkswagen belly right there. I was like,
You're like,
I don't want to blow their, I don't want to blow their hopes. I was like, I didn't say it yet. And then
that
as
70
soon as,
something just turned into a 90 something.
man, as soon as exactly it was 90. As soon as Russ got the leader and the wind on in the thing, we got it all the way up the side. And he leadered it up. He just pulled it right next to the side of the boat. You could see it. It was just like it was right at that moment where we're like, what are we gonna do? It was one of those. I would have already harpooned it. Like when you see
Yeah.
one like that, for me to see one that big and not harpoon it after what we've went through
Oh
and what
yeah.
we've been through this winter, I was ready to poon. So I was like, oh, and I just no, it wasn't it definitely no, it was not worth playing hooky
Yeah.
to poon one
Right, right.
because we had a hell of a battle and Russ on his knees, man, and him his
Broken
strength
rod.
and his freezing. Now look, anyway, so we get the like I said, we're right there, we're in the decision making process of what are we gonna do with it. Thank God it made another choo 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 and pulled itself off right there, right where we already had the leader already in the pole and
Made
everything.
the
We're holding
decision
it.
for you.
It
Yeah.
made it shook that DTX, and I was like, thank God. I was like, cool, man, it's over. And it was like, it was such, everybody on that side, everybody stand here's, nobody got shots. Nobody, I mean, I got a video of it. The guy had one video of it out there, and I was up top where, man, I wasn't just holding on to the steering wheel. I couldn't even, there was no way I was breaking a phone out. I wanted to, but I just
Yeah.
couldn't anyway. So, but yeah, it was a beautiful fish. I estimate 90 just to keep everybody in the 3 to 4. I mean, I don't want to be like, hey guys, we lost to 95, but we lost to 500. I don't want to just blow their hopes. So I want to make them
Yeah.
keep the bar low. It was around 90-ish. Beautiful fish. We all saw it. Everybody saw that, and we saw, wrestle back and forth. We saw a
That's
few jump
awesome.
that day too. We did. I saw a few pile up and jump, and we did end up hooking him between Kitty Hawk and Jeanette's Pier. But since there was a hot bite at Jeanette's Pier, we carried on and went all the way to Jeanette's, which we didn't have any luck that day, and that doesn't mean much because after that, the day after, they wouldn't let anybody do it. They released a thing saying they weren't letting anybody.
Oh, about the not fishing on the pier. And the guys that were on that walk-on trip with you, was that their first time fishing with you?
Oh yeah, speaking of that, those guys that were fishing with me, man. Hey, what's up? Shout out to Chase, man, who listens to the show, man.
Oh,
He
nice.
actually told me that he was like, "Yo, we booked because of the podcast, man. We heard you on the podcast, and he's like, you were the fan favorite and this and that." And I was like, "Oh, come on, man." And
Oh,
he's like, "No, I'm serious, man. We like this and that." He's like, "I love the tips you give out, and I like the stories you do." And he was cool, man. Someone else said a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, they're like, "Yo, I feel like I know you, man, from the podcast."
dude, that's dope, man. Love
It's
to hear
cool.
that stuff. Shout
Yeah,
out to
man.
Chase. Glad you got
Yeah.
out there, got booked, and got hooked.
Yeah,
Dude,
man.
I mean, releasing one of those things is still, I mean, that's a treasured moment. Like, so few people get to see a fish that size that close.
Yeah.
So, I mean, especially in those conditions to fight that out. And you said the rod, where did the rod break? Like down by the reel?
Oh, the whole man, look, this rod is this yellow rod. It broke right by the butt, in the middle of the butt. But this rod I've had for 15, maybe 20 years. And honestly, we've caught submarines. We've caught, I mean, mola molas with that rod. I mean, we've caught, you name it. That
Owes
rod's
you
done it.
nothing. Yeah.
Honestly, he wanted to let it go. And I was like, no, I might get it fixed because it was that rod. I mean, it's caught big eyes. You name it, how many big eyes that rod's caught. I mean, probably caught 5 big eyes over to, a couple over 200 pounds. I mean, it was just a great rod. I'm gonna miss it. It was called Big Yellow. We used to have a
Big
name for it and
yellow.
everything. Yeah, man. It's called Big Yellow.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of big eyes, you guys, so you had this epic fight with
Oh
this
yeah.
huge tuna. But you guys also had something else really unusual happen, and I really want to hear this
Oh
story
gosh.
because I saw you post this,
Yeah.
and I was like, what are the odds of that happening? So talk me through what the hell happened, dude. This is so crazy.
All right. So Saturday, a different trip. 6 pack. We're loaded up, full of guys. Couple having a good couple beers, having a good couple times. Couple of my guys are repeat offenders. They play walk on guys are playing PHC regulars hashtag. And anyway, they wanted to meet. And so they were restrict, So you got these guys focused. You got guys ready to have fun. You got guys ready to make their day and come down and get on this bite. Because, like you said, this bluefin bite down off the pier has been incredible. It's amazing, and everybody's been talking about it up and down the whole East Coast. So just get a little piece of that out of Rudy Inlet.
Yeah.
The trip before to hook that fish was amazing. We were trying to repeat the magic and maybe even hook the one we're looking for to eat. So that's the main concern, was to get that one. Anyway, we get all the way down there, and this time I had a buddy who hooked up, and had a nice one, a good one at, where is this place? It's not up here. It's Lighthouse. There we go. Currituck Lighthouse.
Okay.
A little bit south of that. And honestly, on the way down that day to Kitty Hawk, I did notice a bunch of birds there. I marked it to try on the way back. But they ended up starting there, and they got one. We went all the way down 50. When I was 51 feet of water, and I was down there, like I said, Kitty Hawk. So this day we go to Currituck Pier to start there, and we're gonna work. We're gonna see what's going on and see if the birds are still. And they sure are. The birds are there. There's not a lot of ducks, but there's enough birds where you're like, oh, this is gonna be good. There's picking. You get the gear out, you start trolling, and there's some dolphins will pop up here and there. You're like, oh, I'm not a big fan when I see that. And you're just like, but they're small little pods, and you're just like, all right. And then I think we start trolling out for a little. I went a little deeper to get off because there was lots of bird piles. You're just going pile to pile,
Yeah.
and they're moving so fast. You don't need some of them. You don't get to just because the whole chaos goes down by the time you're there.
Right.
But because you're just aiming with all these lines pretty far out, and you're trolling for this stuff. But I went out a little further. And we saw, while I was aiming that way, I did see a tuna air out. We were like, all right, we got tuna here. And so we were sitting in that area, and there was a nice bird pile. As I come back in towards the beach, it was a little later. We were already out there for a while. And one of the lines goes off. Boom, we're on, kind of. The clip pops, and we're getting like a drag, and we're on. Are we on or not? I don't know. And they're doing the I don't know, really. And they're clear. And then everybody's wheeling in lines. And I'm like, man, we're ripping a little spread in, this and that. And the line of one fish, even when you get a fish, it can cross a few lines.
Yeah.
So Russ dives in there, man, like he does, and he's working up and over, and he's cleared it instantly. Poof, he's already got it cleared. The guys are just clear lines, and it's not really on, but it's not really off. And I'm like, eventually through it, I'm like, man, that rod is bent, guys. Are we on or what? And the whole time we're doing this, there's birds chasing us, and there's like one splash. There's like two splashes. Tuna start jumping out. Boosh, boosh, boosh. And everything starts going nuts behind us. We're like, shit, we're seeing tunas. And now we've got everything in the boat. We've got whatever we've got on. and we're like, oh, we're just like, And then it was like, I think it's a, and then when I see one more splash, I'm like, oh my God, it's a bird.
A bird.
So I'm like, man, we got a bird on. So I'm like, oh, bro. And look, this is on the Mad Scad. This is the Mad Scad up top, and this thing runs up top. It runs about 8 to 10 feet deep, and it's a sweet bait up way out the back. And
Planning your next saltwater adventure? Whether you're nearshore, coastal, or offshore, the right safety gear is just as essential as your tackle. A reliable life raft from survivalatsea.com keeps you prepared because weather changes fast and emergencies happen when you least expect them. Survivalatsea.com offers top-rated life rafts built for any adventure, from bay waters to the open ocean. Right now, get $50 off any new life raft with code GDO50 at checkout. Stay safe, stay prepared. Visit survivalatsea.com today and fish with confidence.
this thing went down and got it. He dove and got that
Dove
sucker.
8 feet down to go get it.
Yep, whatever bird we had was on it. So I bring this, we're going up, and I'm trying to come around to the fish. I got people like chawing at the bit. Let's get back on them. I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah. I'm leading a hunting expedition here. So I'm turning back around. I'm going for the, and they're like, it's bird. I'm like, I'm done. That's that. As soon as they said bird, I was already doing all that in the process. Sorry, I wasn't doing that after. I was already in the process of doing all that so I was kind of shortening the turn and shortening the drag before we knew it was a bird, thank God. And it was a straight drag, would have mushed him into the waves. So I finally, where's the bird? And I pull it out of gear. We got everything. I start backing him down just to keep him floating. And there's waves, boosh, wave, boosh, wave, boosh. And it's already like, and I'm in the front now. I'm still downstairs. I'm driving. I'm holding on to the wheel, looking out the window, and I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? And they're like, he's done. And then I'm like, this is way out. This is 25 feet out, 30 feet out. He's done. I'm like, oh, man. Like, he's done. And it's kind of like, stuff happens. And they're out there, but at the end of the day, the moral of the story is you want to return things the way you left them if you can.
Yeah.
Not to put too much of a dent, because we're paid killers. Our job is to kill fish, die, and eat them, and I'm okay with it. I'll talk to God later about it if I have to, but that's what we have to do. It's not like good or bad. I could be looked at, oh yeah, I'm a fish killer, but at the end of the day, that's what I got to do. So I didn't want to kill this bird, man, but we had, and so he gets it closer and closer, and I run back there. And he pulls it in a boat, and he's like, it's just not even looking like a bird. It's just like a pile. And he just kind of brought it in, and I was like, and he starts trying to get the lure untangled from the wing. And while he's doing that, I'm like, yo, 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 come here. I run out there and I'm like, he gets it. And I'm like, grab that sucker and I kind of put his head back on his shoulders pretty much. And he's got a wide his head and wider than my dog's a little bit. And I'm just like, yo, man, like, yo, it's gonna be okay, man. And I grab him and I try to put his wings back out because I mean he's getting drugged by his shoulder. He's getting drugged under the waves. He has no time to breathe. Deep down, you're just like, oh man, we didn't need to do all that. And then you got in the back of your mind, you're like, there's hunters on the boat already. Like, screw this bird. Let's go fishing. You never know who's on your boat that day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't fish with these guys every time, but I knew that
Right.
some of them might have been thinking that. But whether they put it off to the side, some of them, or it was just a moment that they were like, you know what? There was a few definitely attached to how great a moment it was about to be if we could get this thing to come back, and it was just like one of
Yeah.
those.
Revive it.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't even know. They were just starting to, and I started. So I put this thing on the ground and I pumped his chest. I got him on his back, wings open, and I start pushing on his chest, man. I'm pushing
Now,
water out.
where did you get trained for bird CPR? Because I don't think most boat captains have gone through that course.
Man, it's the same thing I would do if somebody went over the water. I didn't. Hey, listen to me. I'm gonna tell you something. My daughter was choking her at the dinner table. I jumped up and gave her the Heimlich, and I didn't know how to do
Yeah.
baby Heimlich, but I did. I put my knuckle and my thumb and threw it right there, and out she popped her
Yeah.
food to her and my
Instinct.
son.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just go. You just do what you got to do. And
That's crazy, man. And so
yeah,
what
so
happened when you started giving the bird chest compressions?
yeah, so I pumped the water. I started pumping. I don't even know if I see water, but it's so wet. I'm just pumping. I get 3 good pumps in there, and this thing's got a bill. I'm not thinking about mouth to mouth or nothing, but this thing's just got a huge bill. I'm like, and he's sharp as get out. I've never seen a Gannett. It ended up being a Gannett. And
Yeah.
these things got like a 6 foot wingspan. He's got a huge wings. He's a huge bird. He's probably 15 pounds. He's heavier than my dog. And I put him on there. I'm pumping him up, and his head's just not responding. But I got his head up. I start petting him again. I'm like, come on, man, come on. I pump him a few more times. Pump him a few more times, and then out of nowhere, like I'm like, come on, man, and like you got this. And I'm petting him, and I'm trying to warm him up a little, and I see like a movement out of the wing, and I was like, man, we're not done here. And then I was like, yo, man, yo. And I should start trying to pull I pull his chest open a little. I press him again. I pull him open and press him. I mean, literally, I mean,
Oh.
I eat Cornish hens all the time. So I'm puffing these little chickens all the time at the house with spices. So I was pulling and puffing on him, man, like he was a Cornish hen. And sure
Oh.
enough, man, he started getting, half breaths and a little bit more breaths. And I'm holding his head. And, he's looking at me, like looking right at me, like right in my eyes, like through my soul almost. And then he blinks these clear eyebrows and he's looking at me. And then he can feel the people behind me. And so, normally, what's going to happen if you ever have a live Gannett, any kind of live Gannett in the boat, you're doomed. They're the one of the gnarliest ones that will ever bite. They'll bite you to pieces. They'll cut you all up. It's just not a thing I've seen. I've seen it only once, and it was never good. So,
Wow.
yeah, so he wasn't coming back that fast. He was still in shock. He started to
Hmm.
shiver. He started to shiver. So I grabbed his sides. I kind of warmed him up some more. And then his wings got going. And let me turn this thing off here so it doesn't record that sound. Anyway, so and then his wings started flapping a little bit, and when they weren't really moving, but he's stretching them out to see if because I'm sure he was like, man, my wing hurts.
Yeah.
And I started trying to pack him back together and put him into a bird stance a little bit, and I was holding him. I was like, you guys want to get a quick pick just now? You know what I mean? Like I wasn't putting him back yet, but I was just like, it's like, get it quick. And then I was like, gonna put him back, and I was like, I just want to let him recover a little bit more. I know when you see ducks and birds, to me, they're boats with feet. You know what I mean? They're little boats. They got to do the wind. They know all about navigating and stuff. They're like a
Right.
boat, dude. So I was gonna put this boat back, man, and it was kind of like I was like, anybody else want to? He was trying to chill and relax, kind of looking at me with. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I feel like I don't know if he's smiling or what, but yeah, he was kind of stoked, I guess. And then I was like, you guys want to try to pet him real quick? Tell him, give him some good vibes. And a guy came up to pet him real quick, and he was like, fuck no, he was. I mean, heck no, he wasn't having that.
We'll
And
do a
so
we'll do a quick beat there and
he was like,
bleep that out.
"Yep, I tried. I tried."
So he pet him and the bird was
He was
like, "Don't
yeah,
touch me."
yeah. He was like, "Heck no, man! Like yo, not that no one else is petting me, man. Like that's chill." And he was just like, "Nah." So I got him away, and I just kind of like everyone was in awe. It was cool, man. We had our little moment bringing him back, and it was time. You know what I mean? I had to put him back and let him go, and it was some waves, so. Put his boat back. We were inside. I took him inshore, of course, because it was nicer in there. Put him on his little boat, and he got out there, and he literally paddled 2 or 3 times around, and he went out like away because we were drifting away, but he paddled and turned right back around like he was coming back for us. Like, what are you doing? Or maybe he's saying thanks. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah, saying thank you.
out of nowhere, man. Like I'm telling, when I say out of nowhere, the birds we were in were gone. It was no birds for a while. Anyway, and he was like, a pelican was like swoop, and it just came swooping in, and it flew real low. Then it got caught up in the breeze and just hung there like it was gonna drop on a school of bunker. And it was just looking at the bird, and the bird was going the whole time he was in the boat, and he was talking to us too. I forgot that, as cold as it was and all that other stuff. But he was just sitting there, hoo, caw, caw, just
Just
barely chirping
talking.
away, just
Oh,
talking away. So when he got back in the water, he was still doing. They came over, and then another one flew in and just hung out with that. Maybe it was his partner, and they just hung out there, and then they kind of hung out, and they just stayed with it for like probably a minute or two, three, and we we got around, and then I marked a spot on my screen so in case I could go back later, and just look in that area and stuff. But he's gonna have to sit in the water and recover for a little while.
yeah.
I mean, hopefully, if he can fly again, he'll make it. And if he can't, that's we did our best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's, you gotta, try. So everyone had that moment. It was pretty cool.
Well, no tuna, but again, a memory that you can't get unless you go. And I'm curious, so like you guys were down there, between Kitty Hawk and Jeanette's Pier, and right now I've got Hilton's real-time navigator pulled up. I'm looking at the sea surface shot and just kind of checking out the temperatures. So you were in about 50 feet of water. What water temperature were you seeing?
50 feet of water. I was seeing 54.6.
54.6. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to kind of see that line, and based on the reports that you were hearing and where you guys were seeing tuna, that colder water line that was right next to it. I mean, did you feel like there was kind of like this like invisible line that was kind of temperature driven, or do you feel like it was more of a bait driven
It
thing
was
that
bait and
was
birds, bud.
bait and birds?
I had picked these guys on the pier's brain. They're good friends of mine, and I had found out, where what they were seeing and stuff like that. So I use that information to my advantage. And when I saw bird piles, I mean, not to say that they said to go to the birds or anything, but I just knew when you're instinctively you see the birds, and that was our bite that day too. I was a little bit off, but once I saw those birds, I literally gunned it up to like 8 miles an hour so I could get in there in time before the bird stopped.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to drag your spread real quick to get there if you got to, man. I mean, I don't want to tell everybody that because they'll be juking me next year, but dang it. Cut that out. Hey, do me a favor, edit that out too.
Well,
I'll cuss real quick. Make sure it's gone. No, I'm just
oh,
kidding,
that's
man.
funny.
That
That's
is
too
pretty
funny.
funny.
Well,
Dang it.
so obviously the tuna blitz is kind of like, I don't know, maybe here for a little bit longer. Maybe it comes up the coast and we get a shot again at him out of, Rudy. But in terms of like what playing hookey's going to start turning its focus on, it's right here in the middle
Oh,
of April. What's next on the fishing calendar for you guys?
man, we are going to attack some yellowfin tuna. We have a deep drop trip coming up for some grouper, some red black belly rosefish, and some hake, and some that's about all you can catch right now. So we're going to do a
Okay.
deep drop trip coming up. We've been catching. We're going to do an inlet trip, and we also have a tog trip, a rare tog trip with one spot
Ooh,
left on the walk on for Thursday.
awesome.
So
Very cool.
we haven't posted yet on that. We just put the text out. We already got 5 spots taken up, so we are one to go.
Very cool. Well, those
Yeah.
listening, by the time this comes out, that trip
Yep.
will probably be
She be.
underway or having
Hopefully he's
just
got a.
happened.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully
we'll
he's got
have
a
to,
post.
yeah, we'll hear how that goes. We'll catch up with you in a week or two and find out how those trips went. But man, it's always great to catch up with you and hear the stories. Thanks for sharing with our listeners about your experience in Oahu and taking your son there and all of the stories in between. Obviously, there wasn't like a ton of, oh my God, we caught 17 fish, but this is part of the journey, man. Sometimes you just go out there and you have an epic battle, and sometimes you go out there and you catch a gannet. It's just how the fishing
Fishing
works
gods.
sometimes.
That's how they do it. The gods give you what they give you, man. You got to take what you get, but
And be
So
grateful for it nonetheless. Folks listening want to get up with you and get on board playing hooky to have an adventure. What's the best way for them to contact you and get booked?
they're gonna call 757-619-3530, and the easiest way to do it is to go online at playinhookeycharters.com. That's PLAYNHOOKEY charters, just the word.com. And then we have the walk-ons. You can sign up for the text there, and you also are able to you're also able to book trips there. That's where we do all our bookings online. So if you have any
Very cool.
questions, don't forget to call and give a shout to us.
Very cool. Folks that are new to the show, new to Captain Bill, it's a beautiful 29-foot purpose-built Seahawk. It's bad to the bone, tower, curtains, a whole nine, get you there safely, comfortably, and put you on the fish, keep you on the fish. Captain Bill, thanks for being on the show, man. It's always a pleasure.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to wrap up an exciting story time and fishing report with Captain Bill Pappas. Thanks for joining us this week. We look forward to chatting with you real soon. Y'all stick around for a word from our sponsors. Whether you're hitting the sand with set rigs using the traditional scent strips for pompano or fishing the flats or marshes for speckled trout, redfish, and flounder, Fish Bites has something for you. They're family owned and operated in St. Augustine, Florida, and pride themselves on making reliably consistent fishing products for anglers of all ages around the world. Fish Bites bait and lures are made with pride in the Sunshine State, USA. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free AFCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.